Japan News AI. This week, we're going to do a deep dive into a collection of news stories. It offers a fascinating glimpse into Japan's role on the global stage. We've got, market jitters over Trump's tariff policies. We've got Japan. They're grappling with record-breaking tourism numbers. We have a young prince stepping into the spotlight. And, of course, the ever-present debate surrounding nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Let's unpack all this. Let's start with the economic roller coaster.
Okay.
The Dow Jones took a tumble this week, dropping over 400 points.
Yeah.
And our sources are linking this to anxieties surrounding Trump's tariff policies.
Sure.
And the potential impacts on employment.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected the global economy is.
Right.
See, when Trump threatens tariffs against Japan and China, particularly if they devalue their currencies, it sends shockwaves through the entire system. It's a tactic intended to protect American businesses. But the uncertainty and volatility it creates really ripples outward.
It's interesting to see how other countries are reacting to these protectionist moves.
Yeah.
The Japan-UK commitment to free trade stands in stark contrast to this approach.
Right.
It's like they're pushing back against what they're calling trade fragmentation, advocating for a more open, rule-based system.
Yeah, imagine a world where every country erects trade barriers.
Wow.
That's essentially what trade fragmentation is. It can make it incredibly difficult for Japanese businesses to export their products, and it can even impact what goods are available here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, while all this economic tension is playing out, Japan's tourism industry is absolutely booming.
Yeah.
They hit a record 36 million tourists in 2024, with the U.S.-Japan tourism year playing a significant role in that number. They've even set their sights on an ambitious goal of 60 million tourists by 2030.
Wow, those are impressive numbers. But it begs the question, can Japan handle that volume of visitors?
Yeah.
Think about the impact on infrastructure, local communities, and the environment. The sources we have here mentioned that 30% of tourists reported experiencing overcrowding, which suggests a need for careful planning and management.
And it seems like they're exploring solutions already. Tourism and bathing taxes are being considered. These could be used to fund infrastructure improvements and manage the flow of visitors.
Right, exactly. But as with most things, there are two sides to this coin.
Sure.
While these taxes could help mitigate overcrowding and improve the visitor experience, they could also make travel to Japan less accessible, particularly for those on a tighter budget.
Speaking of navigating complexities, let's turn our attention to a different kind of headline. Prince Hisahito, second in line to the Japanese throne, recently turned 18 and gave his first press conference.
Wow.
He's the first male heir to come of age in nearly 4 decades. And his entry into the public eye is a pretty big deal.
It is. What's particularly interesting is his stated intention to balance his official duties with his passion for dragonfly research at university.
Oh, wow.
You have this young man poised to inherit the throne, but also determined to pursue his own intellectual interests. I think it speaks to a changing dynamic within the monarchy.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah.
And his emergence also brings the broader issue of succession within the imperial family to the forefront. Japan's aging population is reflected in the shrinking pool of potential heirs, especially with the current law limiting the throne to male successors.
Right, and it's not just age that's a factor. Female members of the imperial family actually lose their royal status if they marry commoners, further narrowing the options. It's a complex situation with deep historical roots, and finding a solution that balances tradition with modern realities won't be easy.
It makes you wonder what the future holds for the monarchy. And speaking of complex situations with far-reaching implications, our last news item takes us to the UN conference on the treaty banning nuclear weapons. Japan, the only nation to have experienced nuclear attacks, has announced it won't be attending the talks.
It seems counterintuitive on the surface, doesn't it? But understanding Japan's position requires looking at its security alliances. They rely on the U.S. nuclear umbrella for protection, seeing it as a necessary deterrent in a world with various geopolitical threats. In essence, they're prioritizing these alliances over a symbolic stance against nuclear weapons.
Hold on, though. If Japan is so concerned about security, wouldn't a strong stance against nuclear weapons globally make them safer in the long run? It seems like a bit of a contradiction.
That's a valid point, and it highlights the intense debate surrounding this issue. You have atomic bomb survivors and anti-nuclear activists who are very vocal in their criticism, arguing that Japan should be a leader in disarmament efforts, not clinging to a dependence on nuclear deterrence. It's a powerful reminder that even within a nation, there can be widely differing opinions on how to approach such a weighty issue.
Absolutely. So looking at all these stories together, what emerges for you? Are there any common threads running through them?
What strikes me is this theme of balancing acts. Japan is facing economic uncertainties while simultaneously pursuing free trade alliances. They're celebrating record-breaking tourism while grappling with its potential downsides, and they're navigating the complexities of imperial succession and this deeply rooted nuclear debate.
It's like a snapshot of a nation at a crossroads, having to make these critical decisions that will shape its future on the world stage.
What do you think, listener? How do you feel about the role of tariffs in international trade? What are your thoughts on this delicate balance between promoting tourism and protecting cultural heritage?
And where do you stand on the issue of nuclear weapons in a world that seems increasingly volatile? These are complex questions, but they're important to consider. Yeah, it's fascinating to see how these seemingly separate news stories, they actually paint a broader picture of the challenges and opportunities Japan faces. We've gone from anxieties in the global markets and trade fragmentation to the joys and strains of a tourism boom. We touched upon the quiet drama of imperial succession and grappled with the weight of the nuclear debate. It's a lot to unpack.
It is, and I think what makes it even more compelling is that a lot of these issues resonate far beyond Japan's borders. Take the tourism boom, for example. A lot of countries are grappling with the question of how to manage tourism sustainably,
Right.
balancing economic benefits with cultural preservation and environmental protection. It's a conversation happening globally.
Yeah, you're right. And when you think about Japan's approach to nuclear disarmament, it raises questions about the role of individual nations in a world where security is often perceived as a collective responsibility. It makes you think about the delicate balance between national interests and global cooperation.
Exactly. These stories offer a glimpse into a nation navigating a complex world. And in doing so, they invite us to reflect on our own values and perspectives. What kind of world do we want to live in? And how can we contribute to shaping a future that is both prosperous and peaceful?
That's it for this week. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We want to hear your opinion on today's topics. Take care and see you in the next take.
Yeah, see you next time.